this is Tamara from wigglyblog.com, and in this video I'd like to demonstrate the grit stitch. There are a couple of different stitch patterns that go by the name the grit stitch. Here I'll be demonstrating the single crochet grit stitch. You can see here a swatch I've made of the grit stitch, and it looks the same on both sides. There's a fair bit of texture, but not too much. It's not like a bobble or a popcorn. It's just kind of an interesting stitch pattern to give it a little bit of life. I'll be using Lion Brand Cottonies and an eye hook. Let me set this aside. To begin, you're going to want to start with a multiple of 2 stitches plus 1. So basically an odd number of stitches. To get started here, let's start with a very small swatch. We'll chain 13. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, let's get started. Alright, so to begin the first row, we're going to skip the first 2 chains, 1, 2, and single crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. I like to work into the back humps, but you can work into any part of the chain you prefer. So we work 1 single crochet. Then we're going to skip the next chain and work 2 single crochets in the next chain. And that's what we're going to keep doing until we reach to the last 2 chains. So skip the next chain, work 2 single crochets in the chain after that, skip the next chain, 2 single crochets in the chain after that, skip the next chain, 2 single crochets in the chain after that, and now we're at the end where we have 2 chains left right there. We're going to skip the next chain, and in the very last chain we're just going to work 1 single crochet. And that's the end of row 1 of the grit stitch. To begin row 2, what we're going to do is chain 1. Now this pattern is a little different. Most patterns that I show you or that I write for Moogly Blog, the chain 1 for a single crochet does not count as a stitch. For the grit stitch, it does. So that chain 1 is going to count as a stitch later on. But to begin row 2, what we're going to do is in that first stitch, the last stitch of the previous row, we're going to go ahead and work a single crochet. Then, just as before, skip the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, until we get to the last 2 stitches. Skip the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, skip the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the stitch after that, skip the next stitch, 2 single crochets, and that will bring us to the last single crochet and that chain 2 that we skipped at the beginning of the previous row. What we're going to want to do is go behind that chain, that top chain there of the chain 2, to make the last single crochet. So just 1 single crochet into that stitch. All right, so after this, every row is worked the same as row 2. You're going to start with a chain 1, turn, 1 single crochet in the first stitch, skip the next stitch, and 2 single crochet in the next. And just as before, that's really all there is to it. But I want to show you at the end of this row how we work into that chain 1 as if it too were a regular stitch, because it is a little different. So let's see, 1 more set of 2 single crochets here. Alright, so we've come to the end here. We've got 1 more single crochet, and then we've got that chain 1 turning chain. We're going to skip over that single crochet and just kind of wedge the hook right on the side there, almost as if you're working to the side of the stitch to work a border. Going to go right under or behind that single crochet, or that chain 1. So skip the single crochet and just go under that chain 1 as if you were working a border almost, but of course you're working on top. And you work a single crochet. And that is really all there is to the grit stitch. You can see here what it looks like with quite a few more rows. Like I said, it is completely reversible, so it makes a great stitch pattern for blankets or anything that you would want to see both sides of, and it has a great bit of texture. And that's really all there is to it. Thanks so much for watching.